Hatfield and the evil basketball coach. Blast you, Ed Young!
And welcome you back to 757 Saturday Sports Talk here on CoVA Sports TV. Like, share, and subscribe here wherever you may be tuning in. We thank you for doing so. And we have a special guest with us. He is the esteemed columnist for ODUsports.com. You've been reading him for many years in the Virginia Pilot. And now he's giving you great wall-to-wall coverage of everything ODU athletics. Our good friend, Harry Minium. Harry, good to see you. How's the summer treating you? And I understand you were out of the country for a little bit, right? Tell us about that.
Yeah, if you can notice behind me some German flags there.
Yeah.
I have a girlfriend down in Berlin, Germany, and so I visited her for 3 weeks this summer. So long-distance relationship. She's coming to an ODU football game this fall. So,
awesome.
Yeah, I love my time there, but I missed being here. So.
Awesome. We got to get Ed some ODU swag. I've got my ODU on today. You got your ODU on today. And I want to get Ed out for a big game here at SB Ballard Cornblau Field this year, Harry, because the Monarchs, we had Phil Steele on the show a few weeks ago. And, they tend to be, he even said it, when Ricky Ronnie's team is slept on, that's when they do the most. They surprise some folks, and they got a chance to watch them in the spring game, as I know you did. Quarterback continuity with Grant Wilson, so some key parts back. And while there's always some new faces, which is the way college sports is, it feels like, from speaking with the coaching staff, I know you know this too, and Phil's even said it, there's better depth than they've had in recent years. Do you get that sense?
Yes, that's the main difference between this team and last year's team. And I think where that could make a big difference is on special teams. If you remember 2 years ago, they blocked a ton of kicks, and that turned games around. This past season, they just didn't have the depth to play a lot of their starters on special teams. And their special teams are good. You know, their special teams coach, Kevin's a great coach. They played well, but they didn't block a lot of kicks. This year, they think they can do that. I mean, their depth at quarterback is the best since Ricky Ronnie's been here, and maybe the best since I've been covering them. You know, Grant, of course, he's a great starter, and he started all last season. He knows the offense, but Colton Joseph, backup. I think he's probably the backup quarterback now. He's a true freshman from California. The guy's got a great arm. They've got a transfer, Emmett Moorhead from Boston College, who started much of the season 2 years ago and is a big guy. So they've got three quarterbacks who can play, and that hasn't been the case. And I think that's really going to help them.
I'll let Ed jump here in a second. We want to get on to the health about Jason Henderson at linebacker and some other parts of this team and the outlook for them, the tough schedule they've got out of the gate. But you were at Sunbelt Media Days down there in New Orleans. You know, sometimes when you get coaches, and Ed's like this in basketball, they keep their cards close to the vest, as you well know, Harry. Did you learn anything that you didn't know coming in, be it on the ODU side of things or other teams around the entire Sunbelt League? What did you take away? What were kind of your takeaways from the whole media extravaganza?
Well, I stuck with ODU most of the time. You know, you don't want to miss an interview because, someone may say something that you want to use. But, what you mentioned earlier, the confidence of the coaches. Ricky is, Ricky's a very humble guy, and he doesn't brag. He's not one of these, he doesn't run down opponents. But when he feels like his team is going to be good, you can sense it from him. It's not what he says, but how he says it. I think he thinks his team has the potential to be good. Now, the big question mark here is you've got, I think, 57 newcomers, 28 of them transfers from other schools. Most of those 28 were not here for spring practice. Vast majority, the freshmen weren't here either. So, how do you mold that? All these newcomers in with the old guys. You have 31 days to do it, not 31 days of practice, but just 31 days. And so it's really, as Ricky says, it's hard to tell anything for sure about any team in the country during these times because of the transfer portal and NIL. Teams just, they undergo so much change.
Yeah, they really do. We're talking with Harry Minium, senior executive writer for Old Dominion University. You can find his work on ODUsports.com. Also, you can give Harry a follow on Twitter, or now known as X, at Harry_Minium ODU at 757 Saturday Sports Talk here on CoVA Sports TV. Ed.
Well, Harry, thanks for coming on. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you on here with all your vast experience and things you have done here, and great stuff throughout the years with the Old Dominion situation. And I look at, I always like to separate the colleges, the big boys. We know the Texas, the Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama's, and we have like a lot of the rest. A lot of the rest, the problem is with this portal thing is guys jump in it so quick when they're at the smaller level. They think success means I go in now and I go back to the big boys where I should have been recruited to begin with. So it seems now the key in college and basketball recruiting is you've got to be able to recruit the portal. And then you've got to find some crazy way. I guess that way is NIL money, but that's not always the answer. That Old Dominion does not have NIL money like Alabama. Let's just call it what it is. As you go through all this stuff with yourself and on your experience and whatever, how do you look at that situation covering one of the smaller teams and Ricky's busted his butt like crazy to keep that program going, knows his stuff. He came from one of the big boys, Penn State. Yeah. How do you look at all that in terms of success at an Old Dominion?
Well, I guess I have to be honest here, don't I? Ed, by the way, I went to Norview, so we both have Norview ties.
I like that. I like that. You know, I didn't know that about you. Had I known that about you back in the day, you would have been welcome to sit on that bench. I would have let you do the Maureen Booker T games. I'll go scouting.
No, I was long before your time coaching. I'm a lot older than you, but
no, you still can do the job though.
Yeah. Anyway, I mean you know, let's face it. The truth is that Old Dominion is going to lose kids to the portal because other schools, you know, they have money to offer. And I've talked to, and I don't want to mention any names. I've talked to a number of kids, including one who transferred this past season, who immediately regretted what they've done. And, you know, by the time you get there and you've accepted money, it's too late to go back. You look at Santana Saunders and Jason Henderson. You know, Jason Henderson, maybe the best linebacker in the country, maybe the best defensive player in the country. I don't know what he's got in the way of an NIL deal. I haven't asked. I'm not allowed to write about NIL, so I don't know. But I know he could have had a lot of money at other places. And he told me, he says, why leave? I'm happy here. I love the fans here. We play a great schedule here. Pro scouts see me here. I'm happy here. Why leave? Santana Saunders, mammoth human being, could have gone to a lot of places and made money. He said the same thing. You know, why would I leave Ricky Ronnie? I love Ricky. I don't know about these other coaches. So I think a lot of these kids, they see the grass is greener. They're young kids. They're so immature. You know, 18, 19-year-old, 20-year-old boys are just immature. We were boys. We were 18, 19. We were terribly immature.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes they let the green, not the grass, but the money, lead them astray. I think in a lot of instances, guys who left Old Dominion wish they had not. And I'm talking about some big names who left here who I've talked to. So as far as the NIL and transfer portal, I understand why it happened. I understand all the legal reasons for it. I just wish there wasn't unlimited transfers. I mean, where you can leave every year. That just, to me, that's not right. It's not fair to the institutions that invest money into these kids. Invest money and invest time. So,
and pretty cool. I think both you guys will agree to see in the magazines like we got with Phil's. We had him on a few weeks ago. Jason Henderson's name in bold print coming back with 170 tackles from a season ago, because you generally don't see that these days with a player of that caliber returning, Ed.
Well, it is. And for someone like Jason to stay, who could easily went and been very good, bigger school, that doesn't happen much nowadays. It's, you know, I talked to some coaches on the basketball side, and they're saying like one of the first things parents talk about in recruiting at the high school level, which has been dummied down some because they're going to go in the portal, is what kind of money can my kid make at your place? It used to be playing time. Y'all going to take care of them academically? Now it's what kind of money can my kid make? And if you're like, so-and-so's offered us this kind of money. So it comes down to the dollar. And I can't for the life of me understand, and I know what they keep saying. NCAA, what are you doing? Well, our hands are tied. If we go back to what we used to do, we're going to court. My attitude, go to court, whatever. You've got to put some kind of reins on this craziness, because the big boys are still the big boys. That doesn't work like it's making everybody equal. No, it isn't. Because a lot of the smaller schools are become farm clubs for the bigger teams, because these kids think, well, I made first team all Sun Belt. I got to go to the SEC now. That's just a mentality.
Yeah, the Old Dominion's lost a couple of basketball players who really regretted leaving, and I won't mention any names. They're good kids. They're great kids, and they just got stars in their eyes. Ed, I agree with you. I wish the NIL and transfer portal didn't exist. The transfer portal, I think, is good. I think if a kid's unhappy, he should be able to leave at least once without being, without being penalized. You go to a school, you don't like the coach, you're not going to play. You shouldn't have to sit out a year. But the NIL, the fact is that the federal government, Congress, is going to have to come in and legislate something, because it's clear that the previous NCAA's setup just wasn't legal, according to judges. So what are you going to do? You're going to go to court and lose. So, I share your angst with the system, but Mike Jones, basketball coach Delisha Milton Jones, they both put together really good recruiting years. They've adjusted to the situation. Ricky's adjusted. I mean, this means, recruiting is now 365 days a year, because, kids can basically, tell you they're leaving at any time, and, it makes life harder. But I think Old Dominion has adjusted as well as they can. I don't know a lot about ODU's NIL program. I do know that they're very active and they've been helpful to the coaches, and ODU can't compete with the SEC and ACC on that level. But here's the thing that the ACC and SEC sometimes can't offer, and that's, first thing is early playing time. You get the chance, you might go to, let's say you go to Virginia Tech, you play as a junior. At ODU, you play as a freshman and sophomore. By the time you're a junior, you're an experienced player, and pro scouts are seeing you because you're playing South Carolina, Indiana, Virginia Tech, Wake Forest, all these schools. You're playing against great competition. So, and I know that ODU coaches, that this is what they preach. You can come here and you can get to the NFL, you can get to the NBA. That's proven. We've got, I think, 5 guys in the NFL right now, which is pretty amazing. So, Old Dominion is playing against the big guys. They sometimes beat them. They've beaten Virginia Tech here twice at Ballard Stadium, and there's another chance coming up September 14th. And by the way, get your season tickets, because that game is going to sell out, I think, before season tickets. I think while season tickets are still on sale.
Yeah, I want to get to you with that, Harry, before Ed gets with you on the schedule and we finish up. Harry Minium from ODUsports.com with us. You had a neat piece up there about people might just want to get that Tech game, but it's probably a better bang for your buck if you get season tickets, if you look at it from a value perspective, than just trying to get that one game, which might be a higher rate by kickoff time than it is getting the whole package, right?
Yeah, I went on there. There are 5 or 6 ticket resellers. We used to call them scalpers. We don't call them scalpers anymore, because I guess that's not that's not correct language these days, but they are scalpers. I mean, they get tickets for a price and they sell them for a profit. And, you can find tickets for the Tech game now, I think like $160 or $170 for not great seats. But for the most part, they're the $200 to $400 to $500 range. Okay, so you get 2 tickets for $200, to the Tech game. Great. You've got tickets to one game. If you get an ODU season ticket for $200, the same amount of money, you're getting 6 games. ODU plays East Carolina, JMU, Marshall, Texas State, Georgia Southern. Yeah, it's a great home schedule. One of them is a Thursday night game. Some of them are on national TV. It just makes more sense. If you're going to spend the same amount of money and get 6 tickets instead of 1, I mean, that should be a no-brainer, right? So anyway,
makes sense.
And speaking of that schedule, Harry, when I look at it, tough sledding for Old Dominion right off the bat at South Carolina, East Carolina, Virginia Tech. Then we get in, obviously, into Sun Belt. Well, we got Bowling Green too, I think, in there. Then we get into Sun Belt play.
Yeah.
What's it going to take in those first 4 games to get them really coming into the Sun Belt with a head of steam? And then how do you assess? You were at the Sun Belt Conference get together. How would you assess them as they do go into Sun Belt play?
Well, the first thing they have to do is say, they need to get through those. You want to get through non-conference play with as few injuries as possible. You don't want to lose a key player to an injury. That's the main thing. when they opened in South Carolina, let me backtrack a little bit. When I saw practice the first day, you look at the kids, first day of practice, you look at them to see if they're, strong. Are they muscular? Do they look fit? Old Dominion players look fit. It was a hot day, and they practiced with a lot of energy, and that's going to be very important because they open in Columbia, South Carolina at 4:15 in the afternoon. I'm not sure I've ever been to a hotter place on planet Earth than Columbia, South Carolina in late August. So that's going to be a tough chore for them. Then they got East Carolina. That's a team that plays on our level, a group of 5 team. We might be favored in that game. Who knows? And then there's Virginia Tech. Tech is, I think picked 5th or 6th in the ACC, potential top 25 team. They're very good. Obviously, they've got a better team than Old Dominion does, but they're coming to Old Dominion. That's going to be a high-energy game. Then they have a week off, and then they go to play a very good Bowling Green team. You might not have heard much of Bowling Green, but they play in the Mid-American Conference. They went to a bowl game last year. They've got a great program. I don't want to speculate on what numbers they win. They need to win some of those early games, and then they go right into Sun Belt play. They're at Coastal Carolina and at Georgia State right away. 2 tough places to play, or it'll be hot, and then they're home against Texas State and Georgia Southern. And need I remind everyone, the Sun Belt is the best group of 5 conference in the country. It's better than the American Athletic Association, the Mountain West, Conference USA, the Mid-American. It is the best football outside of the Power 4 conferences. So that's tough. I mean, the non-conference schedule is tough. The conference schedule is tough too. 2 non-conference games are Texas State and Arkansas State, and both went to bowls last year, and Texas State is the West Division favorite. So it's a very tough schedule.
It is my last one with you and let you go here, Harry. We thank you so much for coming on the program. Look forward to chatting with you during the season as well. And I saw the great note in the notes from the SID. Does a splendid job at ODU. Eric Bohannon, that ODU played 11 one-score games, going 6-5 in those games last year. The 11 one-score games are the most by any Division I school since D1 was formed in 1978. So if you like close games, edge of your seat, Monarchs football is for you. I've been telling people, 2-part final question for me here, and I'll let Ed finish with you too here, Harry. I've been telling people my 2 breakout names I think for the Monarchs are Bryce Duke on offense at running back and Koa Nawatala, the linebacker from Woodside High on defense. Am I warm, cold, not so sure? And then to follow that up, do you have another breakout name or 2 potentially for the Monarchs this year people can look forward to see? I'm
not going to talk about those 2 kids because I haven't seen much of either one of them, but I mean, you've got the kid. I think if he winds up playing, who could surprise is Colton Joseph. He's really a good quarterback. Now Grant is a starter, and I think Grant will probably start when the season begins. But I think it's going to make Grant better to have Colton behind him because Colton has just got a great arm. And he's a smart kid, California kid. Gosh, a breakout. Well, one of the players that one of my favorite players of all time at ODU is Isaiah Page. He's about 2'4", wide receiver. He's been hurt a bunch, and he's finally healthy this year, really healthy. And I think you can see a breakout season from Isaiah.
All right, there you have it. Well, it should be a lot of fun. Ed, any final thoughts or questions for Harry here as we let him roll?
Harry, I put you on the spot. Uh-oh. You've done so much for so long. You've seen so much. Can you, right off the top of your head, a big memory from your past in the 757 era, whether it be an event, a player, a coach, and I know you've had many, and I know you're the type of guy, you're so respectful type guy that you don't want to miss anything, but off the top of your head, something that you saw that always comes to mind quick, you really enjoyed covering. Anything off the top of your head?
1982 or 83 Lake Taylor High School football team. That team, they started out the season 0-2-1. One of their players, a guy named Al Hatchett, was killed in a traffic accident in which his teammate was driving. And that team went on to win their last 7 games and go all the way to the state championship. And they had no talent. Everyone went 2 ways. There was just no talent on that team. And somehow they managed to they managed to get to the state championship game, but they got crushed by GW Danville. That's the most inspiring team I've ever seen. I think the greatest sports memory I have is I'm in a 2018 Virginia Tech 49-35. That was pretty magical. That's an ODU team that really underperformed. They finished 4-8, and they had several guys who went to the NFL. But that night they showed up, and I think they had more yardage against Virginia Tech than Virginia Tech had given up in like 22 years. And it was amazing to see an Old Dominion team pound Virginia Tech into submission. They beat them up physically. So that was an amazing game.
Yeah, as a 4-touchdown underdog to win that game the way they did after the first start of that season was remarkable. And to this day, people will never forget that. Well, he does an awesome job for ODUsports.com. Check out his work, Harry Minium. And I'm surprised you didn't pick in that top 3 there. Ed Young almost going blow to blow with Barry Hamler back in the day when he was at Norview, when it was at Booker TV. Because that might be out there for some people. As that was, I know in the paper, the coaches almost come to blows. And maybe one of your colleagues was that one. You might have missed that one. But
yeah, I missed that one. Yeah.
Well, always a pleasure, my friend. Enjoy the rest of the summer, and we'll see you soon on the gridiron.
Thank you, Ed and Matt. Appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Harry.
Take care.
There's the one and only Harry Minium with us here on 757 Saturday Sports Talk on CoVA Sports TV. We're going to take a timeout and come back with more. We've got Tracy Parker from the Smithfield Packers coming your way on this